you found massive success. You've built multiple businesses. You own 7 businesses. What did that look like?
Like, I remember my very first day, it was a Ford Expedition, but it was like old as can be, bro. I walk up to the car. He's like, hey, you're Joe? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want a blow pop? I remember the first time one of our technicians like fell through an attic. What's gonna happen, man? Is the client gonna sue us? Is this dude alive?
So, financial services fell into your lap. What about it made sense?
I had zero intention of actively building the business.
Why do you have partners in every business? All right, Prosper episode number 5. I've got Joe Basso with me. And Joe, you're a good friend, someone I look up to and truly respect, and a mentor of mine. And Joe, you found massive success in multiple industries. You've built multiple businesses. You own 7 businesses, one of them being an extremely successful insurance brokerage. You guys have over 200 agents. You guys are doing over $3 million a month, and appreciate you coming out and hopping on the pod.
Dude, I'm honored to be here. So thanks for having me on. One of my good friends, dude, and genuinely enjoy every interaction that we have. So it's always a pleasure to be in your company.
All right, Joe. So take us back to when you were young, first starting out in business, first starting out in sales. What did that look like?
Yeah, dude. So it feels like yesterday. It also feels like a lifetime ago. It's funny how the 1099 life can age you a little bit, but in all seriousness, bro, I think I was 19 years old. I was a sophomore in college, and I remember kind of on a job hunt. I was like ready to get my first adult job, and dude, I had no idea what in the world I was gonna do, and somebody on my dorm floor had actually recommended I go get a position as a janitor at a chemical company. And so I went in, I interviewed for the position. It was like, I want to say it was like $13.25 an hour, like 45, 50 hours a week. So a little bit of overtime, time and a half, and phenomenal benefits. And like a 19-year-old, 2009, 2010, I was like, I could probably pay my bills. I didn't have a lot of bills, right? I literally, dude, I go to that interview, I get back to the college, and as I'm walking into my dorm, I see this dude that I had seen around. We were not friends. Like, we had one, 30-second conversation up until that point. And I'm walking into my dorm, and he goes, yo, you're Joe, right? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, dude, you're not looking for a job, are you? And I was like, I'm looking for a job. Why? He's like, dude, I'm working for this sales company, this marketing firm, and I'm making great money. Do you have any interest? And I was like, what's great money? He's like, dude, I'm making $1,200, $1,400 a week. I'm like, doing some math in my head. I'm like, that's way more than what I'm going to make as a janitor, and I definitely don't want to be a janitor.
How long would it take me to make that?
I'm like, oh, wait a second.
Making how much an hour?
Yeah. And by the way, marketing firm sounds fancy. What he didn't tell me was that it was door-to-door sales, right?
Of course.
Right? And he didn't tell me it was straight commission, 1099. And this was my introduction into sales. And so I literally got in my car the next day after class, drove 25 minutes to the office, met who would eventually become one of my best friends and mentors, a guy named Jim Slavo. And yeah, dude, I signed up for the direct sales life, and I was selling newspaper subscriptions for the Chicago Sun-Times Media Group. And I did that for 4 years of my life.
Wow.
So door to door, straight commission, out there knocking on average like 700, 800 doors a week in all the elements of Chicagoland. So it was
while you were in college?
While I was in school. Yeah, while I was in college.
And were you going to college for sales, for business? What were you going to college
No, dude. I was actually studying pastoral theology. So I have my degree in theology. So I was taking full credit load at school, was trying to have some kind of a social life, and I was working full time to support myself. And dude, I fell in love. It wasn't love at first sight, but I fell in love with it. So first 3 months, I think it was like 12, 13 weeks was absolutely brutal for me. Like, I don't know that anybody's had a worse start in sales than I did. Like, it was absolutely horrible.
Really?
It was horrible. I didn't make a sale for almost 3 months.
Didn't make a sale for 3 months?
3 months. I made like $0.
At 100% commission?
I was not at 100%. Oh, well, yeah. I was 100% commission.
Yes.
But on average, I was making like, back then.
But just all commission?
It was all commission.
Yes.
Straight commission. I think I made, and this was a long time ago, I want to say I made like $15-$20 for each subscription I sold. So my mind, I'm like, all right. And there was bonuses and all this type stuff. So my target was like 35 a week. Because if I could get 35 a week with my commission and bonus, I was making like $1,200, $1,300 a week.
Wow.
And that sounds great when you're 19 and broke and you're in school. And then you go 3 months without a sale.
3 months without making any money.
No money. But dude, to be real, like, I had like saved some money from working in the summer doing like landscaping and lawn care. So it's not that I needed the cash during those 3 months. But what really, I think, when I look back, it was just as difficult not having traction or success in those 3 months. And it changed genuinely changed who I was. It changed how disciplined I was. It changed how driven and motivated I was and would become. It changed the way I viewed other people because I knew I needed to learn from a lot of other people if I was going to succeed. So many of the intrinsic values that I use every day in my businesses now, I think I learned at 19 in door-to-door sales. So wow. It was quite a learning experience.
So what made you stick with it? Because that's quite a while without making a sale. What made you stick with it those first 3 months, just getting started and not give up?
Dude, that's a great question. I think one, like I had never quit anything in my life. Like I remember my parents my dad specifically was always like, dude, you don't have to be great at everything, but don't be a quitter. Like if you're gonna decide to stop doing something, don't do it because you haven't found any success yet. Make sure that you can find a little bit of success, and if you don't like it after you've found some success, stop doing it. But don't quit before you find success.
Wow.
And so I remember hearing that from my dad, like literally since I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And so I think that was a part of my character. And then too, dude, I'm very competitive. It drove me out of my freaking mind. It drove me crazy because it wasn't just me. There was like a group of us, right? Like this is door-to-door sales. So, this was back then, dude, 2009, 2010.
Back in the day.
Like back in the day, dude. And there's still a lot of door-to-door companies that do this today, but there'd be like a team leader. So when I first started, bro, like you'd show up to like a random gas station. Legitimately. Like I remember my very first day was Crown Point, Indiana. I show up to a gas station and there's a SUV with a group of dudes I did not know. And I get into the SUV. This is so funny, dude. This is just like random. Okay. But I was freaked out. I almost quit my first day.
Okay.
Because as I get out of my car and like there's this like this weird tan, it was a Ford Expedition. But it was like old as can be, bro. Like it was old. It looked like crap.
Okay.
Like I walk up to the car and I'm like, is this the van I'm supposed to get in? Is this the truck I'm supposed to get in? And like the rear driver's side window comes down. There's this dude. He ended up becoming a good friend of mine. His name was Josh. And Josh, of course, he's a stranger at this point. dude, I kid you not. He has a bag of blow pops. And this has become like an ongoing joke. He's like, hey, you're Joe? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want a blow pop? And I'm like, what?
You're like, what?
And so I was like,
You're like, am I
supposed to take that at face value? Like, I didn't know what was going on.
Hey, get in the car. We have free candy.
We have free candy. It was literally like, it was that moment. And so, despite stranger danger, I get in the SUV.
You're just like, what am I doing right
I'm
now?
like, what is this?
Am I going to lose a kidney?
Maybe I am a janitor. I didn't know what was going on. So, anyway, dude, all that to get back to, all these dudes are making sales. And I'm looking around and I'm like, they're not smarter than me. They don't have better personalities than me. Like, I'm pretty sociable. Like, dude, it shocked people that knew me that I couldn't make a sale, because people that I've always been super outgoing. Like, you would meet me and think, oh, you'd be good at sales, right? So, like, like, I remember my boss was like, dude, you're an anomaly. Like, I don't know why you're not making sales, right? I think that competitiveness to just keep at it when you're looking around, like, I think this is something, again, that was learned from, my parents. But my parents really taught me to believe that I could do whatever I set my mind to, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I remember hearing that over and over and over, me and all my siblings. Not that we were better than anybody else, but we were as good as everybody else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the idea that these dozens of other 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids are out there making 5, 6, 7, 10, some of them 20 sales a day, and I can't crack one, drove me insane. And so I knew if all those people could do it, I could do it too. And I just hadn't figured it out yet. And so I stuck with it.
How close were you to quitting?
I think I was closer to quitting in my first month than I was my third month. I think my third month, I was like, dude, I'm figuring this out. Like at that point, it became like, if this is the last thing I do, I'm figuring this thing out. So, once I got used to the elements, once I got used to, all right. I think the other part is, like, you got people that are trying to talk you out of it. People that they're like, how long have you been doing this? How many sales you make? How much money have you made? Is it really worth it? Like, dude, is that a scam? Like, what's going on? Like, so you have to get used to, you have to have enough passion and belief in what you're doing that other people cannot talk you out of what you're supposed to be doing. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So let me ask you this. If you wouldn't have struggled so much first starting in sales, do you think you would work as hard as you did when you figured it out?
No, dude. I don't think we appreciate what comes easy to us. None of us do. Right? That's just human nature. We appreciate what we work for.
100%.
So
100%.
I really look back now. Not only was it good for me and my career learning the hard way, but now I've been able to watch a lot of other people that start and struggle the same way I started and struggled. And I know that they can have that light bulb moment. They can figure it out just like I did. And their first 12 weeks, I'm a very slow learner. Hopefully it doesn't take the average person 12 weeks to make their first sale. But if their first 12 weeks suck, just like mine did, that's not the story of their career. That's just their learning curve.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
No, that's true. And really, from what I've seen, it seems like the most talented and the best salespeople are the people that, like, figure it out right from the rip, are typically, what I've seen, are the first people to let off the gas.
100%.
And get complacent.
100%.
Okay. So you did that for 4 years.
That for 4 years.
4 years.
4 long years.
Of door to door.
Door to door. I was in door to door for more than 4 years. I was selling newspaper subscriptions for 4.
So what were you doing after door to door newspapers?
So
what was the next step?
Yeah, dude. I ended up actually getting my own account with a couple other newspaper subscriptions, publications out where I was from in Philly, New Jersey. So I worked with the Philadelphia Inquirer, one of the oldest newspaper companies in the U.S., which was pretty cool to kind of have my own thing rolling. Atlantic City Press. So I did that right out of college for about 6 months. And then, dude, it's like 2013, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm in the newspaper business in 2013. I probably don't have much of a career. That's just the truth. So at the same time, I became a youth pastor. I got married very young. So
how old were you when you got married?
22.
22.
Yeah, my wife was 20.
Nice.
So we did not let any grass grow under our feet. We got married very young.
There you go.
And I'm a youth pastor because I want to put this new degree to use.
Okay.
And I figure out, all right, I cannot pay my bills and make my wife happy and live well with a youth pastor's salary. My first youth pastor position, and by the way, ministry is not about money, so I'm not suggesting that at all. You need to understand why I made the decisions after that I did. This is part of that. Mm-hmm. I was making, I think, $21,000 a year. Okay. From the church. And I was not doing it for the money, so I didn't care about that. Right. But I also couldn't pay my bills with $21,000 a year. So I got a job working at a massive company selling cable, internet, and telephone. Again, it's 2013. I'm selling landline telephone service. There
you go. Okay.
I was a triple play.
Staying ahead of the curve.
Staying ahead of the curve, baby. I was a triple play king of Ohio. So I enjoyed that, bro. That was a fun time of life because after all those years of managing salespeople and running sales teams, like for about a year, it was just me and the doors, ran my own schedule. I worked probably 5-10 hours a week because I got to spend all my time at the church doing ministry work and made a stupid amount of money working 10 hours a week, knocking doors for this company. And I think it was at that point, Jonah, where I finally figured out, like, all right, I really enjoy sales. I missed managing people. Like, I think I need a little bit of sometimes you got to get away from something to know how much you love it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think, like, this was the period of my life when I actually made the decision. That wasn't a season of my life. That's the rest of my life. Like, I love sales. I love business. I love building teams. I love working with people. I love recruiting. I love all of it. And I knew, all right, well, it's not going to be newspapers. It's not going to be TV, internet, phone. But there's something else out there. And that's going to be what I'm going to do forever.
Okay. Very cool. So then after that, so what was next after that then?
After that, I actually got recruited.
Okay. Somebody recruited Joe Basso.
Yeah, dude. An unusual person recruited me too. It was this kid that had come into the cable company that I was working at, and I was training him. And he didn't last at all. He was gone within maybe 6 weeks at the cable company. He did not do well. Didn't like it at all. It was a few months after that, he calls me out of nowhere. And he goes, yo, I'm working for this eco technologies company. And I'm making a lot of money. And I'm like, no way. I'm like, bro, really? I'm like, where'd you find this company? And he goes, Craigslist. I was like, dude, you found this company on Craigslist? And you're trying to recruit me? I was like, no, dude, I'm good.
Are you doing this out of your garage?
I was like, what are you selling? And he's like, dude, I'm selling like off-the-grid solar, insulation, like home improvement products. And I'm like, dude, if you know Joe Basso, you know that, dude, I can't even put a nail in a wall. Like, home improvement and Joe Basso do not go together. And he talked to me for a few weeks, trying to get me involved in this company. The owner of the company ended up calling me and connected with me. And my good friend Justin, who I had basically worked every day with at the cable company for the last year and a half, we both were like, you know what? This company, the cable company, ended up merging with a different, so I can say it. We're working for Time Warner Cable, and we had like 6 weeks of PTO. We're like, we don't want to quit. So we'll take all of our PTO at once and go on board with this other company and see if we like it without quitting, which is exactly what we did. And my job was unique, dude. It was something very different from what I had ever done. It was, I would travel around the state of Ohio. Like, my territory was like 5 hours, and I would give presentations to rooms full of people at high-end steak restaurants. Wow. It was like, I went from a 3-minute pitch at doors to a 90-minute pitch.
Wow.
And I look back now, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about God in this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. God is without a doubt, like, he was orchestrating all of this. I look back now, and it's like, all right, he was preparing me for all that I have done and will do in my life through these positions. And so I find myself, 6 times a week, 2 times a day, 3 days a week, which was perfect with my ministry schedule. So Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, I'm giving 2 presentations each night at like high-end steak restaurants to dozens of homeowners.
Oh, wow. So you're still doing ministry full time.
Yeah.
While you're
100%
selling solar. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude. So it worked out really well. My friend Justin and I ended up leaving Time Warner Cable after our PTO was up. We put our notice in.
Okay.
Dude, it was phenomenal. At that stage of my life, Carmen, my wife, was working, and I had her quit her job, and she literally just came everywhere with me. We got to travel. We got to literally every Monday we would leave. We'd come back at the end of the week, and we did everything together. We didn't have kids at the time, so it was great for our marriage. We were making very good money. It was one of the easiest positions I've ever had, and I absolutely loved it. Wow. So fast forward about a year.
Can I stop you there?
Go ahead.
So at this point in your life, you guys are both young. You're getting some momentum running through the business. Let me ask you, because you bring Carmen, and it's cool to see you guys together.
Yeah.
And get to know both you guys. How important do you think it was for your success in the come up to have a supportive spouse?
Oh, dude, like, anybody that knows Carmen knows that the Joe that you see today doesn't exist without Carmen. Without a doubt. Without her support, without her being there every step of the way. And I mean it. Like, I hear some dudes that are married, and they come and talk to me about their unsupportive spouse. And men and women talk to me about that. And I feel so bad for them. And I try to help them through it. Because I do think there are specific things that you can do to get that support. I'm super blessed that my wife supported every one of my crazy dreams from go. There was never a day in our marriage where she tried to hold me back from anything. Financially, whether it was a new business idea, she's been a part of each and every step since day one. And I can say that without a drop of hesitation, which, dude, you know a little bit about having a supportive significant other.
I do. Both blessed.
We're both super blessed. Very blessed. When you hear about the alternative, dude, it will hold you back.
Oh, 100%. I mean, your spouse can either be your biggest help or your biggest hindrance.
100%.
So, Joe, we're blessed to both have supportive spouses, but you've talked to men and women and couples where their spouses, they're working hard, they're doing everything they can, but their spouse is not supporting them.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for those people to get their spouse on board and make the best out of their situation?
It's a great question, bro. I think it all starts with the proper foundation, which is true for about everything in life, right? It's true with marriage. It's true with business. It's true with about all of your relationships. If you don't get it right from the start, you're working off of a faulty foundation. Sooner or later, it's going to crumble, right? Mm-hmm. So I think in the very beginning, communication, throughout all of it, communication is key. At the beginning, communication and setting proper expectations for what is to come, meaning the grind, the sacrifice, but also the vision, the dream, the goals, the plan. That's critical that your significant other is as much a part of the vision, the dream, the goal, that they understand the sacrifice it's going to take to get there, right? So like Carmen was always great with whatever the grind and sacrifice was going to be. And by the way, it's as much of a sacrifice for her because though she's 100%. Not doing all of the same things that I'm doing every day, she's also doing lots of other things to keep our household moving that I'm not. She's sacrificing that time away from me. In large part, she's raising my son a chunk of the time, almost like a single parent. There's a lot of sacrifice that comes along with the lives that we live. Mm-hmm. And so she's never questioned that because she knows where we're going. And I'm not building a future for me. We're building a future for us. Does that make sense?
100%.
I think getting it started on the right foot is absolutely critical. And then constantly communicating, right? I'm a huge fan of having big goals, but I'm as much a fan as having small goals. So like if I'm like, hey babe, I'm going to work my butt off for the next 5 years so that we can buy a house. If I had said that at like 22, she's 20. Dude, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time to wait for something.
That is.
I'm like, hey babe, we're going to sacrifice and grind this out for a bit. And then in 90 days from now, when we reach this goal, pick a city you want to go. We're taking 3 days. We're going anywhere you want. You can buy anything you want. Within reason.
Within reason.
Within reason. Right? Well, that's a 90-day goal. And now 90 days from now, I'm going to hit that goal. I'm going to do what I have to do to hit it because I don't want to let her down. Dude, I'll work a lot harder to not let other people down than I will to not let me down.
For sure.
Does that make sense?
Without a doubt.
So now it's real. It's tangible. I've got people counting on me. I'm going to work that much harder to hit the goal. And now when we do hit it, she's reaping the benefit as much as I am from the sacrifice, the grind. Does that make sense?
Wow. Okay.
And then you extrapolate that to your bigger goals too.
Absolutely. So basically just, having super clear communication, making sure your spouse understands, making sure she sees the vision, and then not only having big goals, but also having small attainable goals along that path. That's great. Okay.
100%. And I think, dude, I'll say one more thing on this topic. You know where a lot of people struggle? Not all of them. Sometimes there's just an unreasonable spouse. Like that happens sometimes. And it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have trouble with someone that's completely unreasonable. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I do think there are a lot of scenarios where it's a perfectly reasonable spouse that is like rightfully pissed off because you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Like you were on the business trip and instead of grinding it out to work and produce and perform and make money, you were socializing and hanging out and not making yourself better and not making any money and not adding to your relationship when you go home. Dude, I'd be pissed too.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't imagine if I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to go start a new business. Don't worry. Like, you're not going to see me for a bit, but we're going to crush it. And then a year from now, like, we're in a deeper hole than we were a year prior. Like, that happens all the time because people don't hold up their end of the bargain. Dude, it all starts with working well to complete your goals. Does that make sense? If you make a promise to your spouse, you better work your butt off to deliver on your promise.
Well, let me ask you, because let's say you're in the scenario where, you have a goal, you have a vision, and you're working as hard as you can towards that goal and towards that vision. but, something falls through, something out of your control, the idea fails, you failed, and it's like, let's say, because in business, like, it's not all of this.
No, of course
unfortunately.
not.
So, like, let's say, like, after a few times of, like, working as hard as you can, but, like, something inevitable out of your control fails, what advice would you have for the person that has, like, that spouse that, believed in them, supported them from the beginning, but, like, as time goes on and through the failures, the belief level slowly decreases?
I think, dude, a couple things. One, never overpromise and underdeliver, right? So if I remember when I started my first business where we stopped in the story, right? I did not promise my wife that we were going to be millionaires within a year, because that would have been an absolute, like, ludicrous lie. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, like, I would have set her up and myself up for failure if I had given her completely improper expectations. So I think that's number one. Like, I was super honest, and I was like, hey, babe, we're going to risk everything that we own, FYI. And this is the game plan. This is how we're going to do it. I don't know if it's going to work, but I know that if we don't do it, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I know that if we do it and you don't support it, my odds of success are dramatically lower. And I know that if we do it and something out of our control happens and it fails, we'll rebuild something else together. You're setting clear expectations. You're not over-promising. Because, dude, business...
And you're having that hard conversation.
You're having the hard conversations, but you got to be honest with yourself and honest with your significant other. Does that make sense?
100%.
Like,
100%.
Honesty is all of it. Some people just, they can't help themselves from over-promising. Like, I mean, you and I have talked, and I'm not going to say it on camera, but you know how long it took me to become a millionaire? It doesn't happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. And I think a lot of people are just, they don't have proper expectations for themselves, and so they give the people that they love and count on them improper expectations. And I think that that's a problem too. Does that make sense?
100%, especially in the society we live in now, where it's that quick, instant gratification
100%.
with everything. And
100%.
Overnight crypto millionaires and all this rah-rah and this and that.
Jonah, I talk to people that are coming to me 3 months, 5 months, 10 months into a business, and their spouse is upset that they're not, like, living large. And I'm like, dude, it's been 6 months. What did you think was going to happen, man? Like, bro, there's people that are watching this that will vouch for this. I was 3-4 years into a business driving a Honda Civic and living off of like $150 a week in groceries. Legitimately. Like, eating out once a week. Like, dude, we were doing well financially, but you would not have known that. Like,
that's important.
There's lots of things that we can talk about here. We don't have time on this pod, but there's so many different people. People need to slow down and learn the power of delayed gratification. And if you get your spouse on board with that, a lot of the issues that we're really talking about don't become issues. Does that make sense?
That does. Yeah. I mean, not only does it take a long time to be successful, but exactly what you said, like, when there's finally money in the business account, like, having those proper expectations, like, hey, we're not just going to go spend it all.
100%.
We're going to reinvest it back. Okay, perfect. Well, going back to the story and going back to what we were talking about. So you and Carmen, you guys are young, a lot of energy, feel like you're on top of the world. What comes next?
What comes next? The company that we were working with, Justin and myself, and Carmen, because Carmen was there for all of it. The owner of the company, we just had some differences at the end of the day. So we had some differences and decided to branch out on our own. And had the idea, I think every entrepreneur, every born entrepreneur, and I do think it's kind of a thing that you're born with. Like, if there's something in your head where you just know, like, I don't think you know it your whole life, but at some point it clicks and you're like, all right, why am I working for someone else? I should be working for myself. And I think I hit that at like 23. You hit it way sooner, but I hit it at like,
I always knew.
You always knew. I didn't always know. I always knew that I was not a great follower, but I didn't know why, right? And then I'm having a lot of success in team building and sales and all this, and I'm like, you should start, if you own a calculator, bro, you start doing the math. And you're like, wait a second, I'm making somebody else really wealthy, and I'm doing okay, but I think I should reap more of the reward. And so hit that point.
And also you don't own anything.
You don't own anything. If you're an entrepreneur, if you've got the skill set to be, not everybody that is a strong salesperson is an entrepreneur, right? I think that's an important distinction. Some people, even though they're strong salespeople, should be W-2 employees. I really do believe that.
It's true.
But if you've got the entrepreneurial gene and you're crushing it in sales, you're a team builder, you're a leader, you're not going to be happy until you own it and it's your show.
100%.
I think God created us to be, creative and to architect things that we own, we're passionate about. And so, like, I just got to the place where I knew that was what was next. So we left the company and decided to start our own, Justin and me. So 50-50 partners. And
it was not all sunshine and rainbows.
It was not all sunshine and rainbows. We started the company October 1st, October 28th. We were served a lawsuit.
Of what year?
Of 2016.
2016, so that would be, what, 7 years ago?
7 years ago.
7 years ago around this time?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. October 1st was our first operational day, and we were served a suit a few weeks after.
For how much?
A lot.
Can you say?
No. But they just wanted to shut us down. I mean, it was less about money, more about principle. They wanted to shut us down.
Right.
We were their number one team. We were, on stage at convention as their number one team. So there was a lot of a lot of reasons why they wanted to shut us down. Sure. So it was a non-compete suit, and we weren't trying to compete, by the way, like genuinely. So much so that we picked up and literally moved our families to a different state. So we weren't even competing in the same territory. We didn't want to take clients. We didn't want to take employees. We didn't touch anything. It was just like, hey, we got differences. We're going to go our separate way and do our own thing, which you could imagine how much weight that suit had.
I'm sure.
But as a young entrepreneur with a brand spanking new business that you're trying to get off the ground, getting sued,
you're ready to go to war.
Stress levels were high, Jonah.
Oh, I can imagine.
Stress levels were high. It was just one more thing added to the stress of everything else.
Yeah, I'm sure you felt like you were at war.
It very much felt that way.
Okay. So, you guys had to build everything from the ground, everything from scratch, figure out how to do everything yourself.
Everything.
What did that look like?
Dude, it looked like trying to build an airplane when you were already flying in the air. You're just moving and shaking and operating, and you're putting out fires as they pop up. You're a professional firefighter, and you're just trying to figure it all out. And dude, I think every entrepreneur has to feel that pain at one point or another. I think a lot of entrepreneurs delay the pain. The beautiful part about what we did, and I'm so thankful for it, like, dude, we jumped out without a parachute. Like, your feet are forced to the fire. You either figure it out or you die. And we figured it out.
It's crazy what you can do when your back's against a wall.
That's it. And it wasn't a skill set. It wasn't intelligence. It was, if we didn't do it, we were going to lose everything that we had worked for and go bankrupt, business and personally. And I really didn't want to do that.
What did the day-to-day look like?
We were working like crazy, bro. I mean,
how many hours a week would you say you were working?
Dude, we were working legitimately Monday through Saturday, 6A to 10P, every single day, month after month after month. We're doing everything. We're having to source products, deal with logistics, inventory, inbound call center, outbound call center, marketing, so direct mail, internet marketing, Salesforce, installation, fulfillment, customer service, all from scratch. We started off small. We grew really fast. Wow. So God bless. So yeah, you have to learn it. You have to learn different skills. At the end of the day, that's what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship isn't, hey, I'm great at sales, let me start a sales company. Yeah, that sounds amazing. That's not how it actually works. Entrepreneurship is, I don't care what you're doing, not even in any business. You start a new business, all of a sudden you go from wearing the one hat that you've been wearing for years and you're very good at through experience. You now have to wear 10, 15, 20 different hats where you don't have experience. So you're having to figure it out. And sure, you can if you got the right idea and you go get a ton of investors to dump money into your business, you go hire professionals to do all these things. Like that's one way to do it. Most entrepreneurs don't do it that way. Most entrepreneurs have to wear all the hats and figure it all out. And that's what builds them into a great entrepreneur. Because they went through the mud. And dude, I can sit here today. I did every position in that company, all of it. I answered the phones. All right, that's a lie. I never installed products. But I was a part of installations. But I've done every other position in that company. And dude, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. And that's why you are the person you are today. Because everybody wants to be a millionaire overnight. But even for example, let's say you were involved in a crypto pump and you became a millionaire. That person doesn't, they didn't earn it. They don't have the character. They don't have the attributes. They don't have the skill set in order to be that person.
Yeah.
And the reason you are today is you possess that, and that's almost more valuable than your success, the skills you've acquired to get to that point.
I couldn't agree more. I think they say the hallmark of a true entrepreneur is if it all got taken away, they can rebuild it all within a few years.
Boom. Give us a story or just an example of just a problem that you faced for starting out.
Well, besides the lawsuit, that was a pretty big problem.
Do you have a story of inventory didn't come in or this got delayed?
There's one of 1,000, bro. Everything that can go wrong does go wrong. It's like Murphy's Law, right? So dude, everything went wrong at one point or another. Everything went wrong.
Do you have a specific time, a specific moment that you just where everything was crashing down and you just it was this one thing that just you're stressed about?
I'll give you just I'm trying to think of a specific time. There's so many, but I remember one time Justin and I wanted to get out of the field, right? Mm-hmm. It's really hard to work on your business when you're working in your business.
Right.
Right. And a lot of people get the timing all wrong and they try and stop working in their business too soon. We're trying to time it right. So we hired some sales teams because in the beginning, literally, I was still out in the field. Justin was still out in the field. We're still selling, not just building a business. We're selling on a day-to-day and trying to build the business when we're not selling, which was really hard.
Yeah.
So we hire a couple of sales teams, and I remember, dude, this one sales guy was struggling, bro. He's getting great leads and just not closing. And dude, I just remember you got 15, 20, 30 things piling up on your desk. And I remember thinking, there's only one thing that I can do here. I need to get back in the field and fix this. I remember that pressure. I remember that stress. And that happened many times in the early days. I remember, this is kind of a funny one, bro. We were dealing in attics all the time. We were in attics every day. Mm-hmm. And dude, I remember the first time one of our technicians fell through an attic. I get a call. This customer is just livid. One of our techs fell through the ceiling and landed on apparently, of course, it's a $12,000 heirloom bureau and broke the bureau. And you're thinking, oh no, what's gonna happen, man? Is the client gonna sue us? Is this dude alive? Is he gonna sue us? What's happening? And those are the things that just you have to get to the place where you can mentally thrive with that constant stress. You learn that pretty quickly.
No kidding.
Like people today, like will spend a day with me, and my phone will ring. I don't know,
Constantly.
500 times. And they're like, "How do you do this?" I'm like, "What?" Like you don't even notice anymore.
It's a
You
normal
know
day
what
in
I'm
the
talking
office.
about. You don't even notice. It's just it becomes a part of who you are.
Yeah. Like, I bet if I took your phone right now and scroll all the way to the bottom and past 100 people you called, it probably doesn't go back farther than a day.
No.
Okay. Gotcha. So, how long did it take from when you first started to when you were finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and having some steady traction?
Let me give you the honest answer on that one, all right? The answer is I still don't feel that way today. I still don't feel that way today. I intentionally live my life every day like my back is still up against the wall. If I get to the place where I feel like I've figured it out and I've won, I'll start losing. So it drives my wife crazy.
Right.
But I live every day like it's all going to fall apart tomorrow. And that's the only way that I've figured out how to sustain success over years.
That's good. What do you do to stay hungry?
I look at people that are crushing me. Does that make sense? Who you compare yourself to will determine how you view yourself.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah, dude. If I compare myself to the people in my life that aren't hungry, yeah, dude, I look like I'm the king. If I'm honest with myself and look at people that are light years past where I am, and there are many of them, many, 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 many of them, it's really easy to have proper perspective and say, hey, dude, I'm just getting started, and I've got a long ways to go. And for me, that's all I need to stay hungry, bro. I have a list of people that I look at on a daily, and I'm like, all right, study their moves. Business is copycat. Study people's moves.
Always
It's
a bigger shark.
It's not that deep. Figure out what they did to get there and make similar moves. And it wasn't, you said it how many times in this pod, it wasn't built in a day. They didn't build it in a day, and neither are you, neither am I. But it's amazing what momentum can do. It's amazing what time does.
And not to lose it.
Consistency.
Not to lose your momentum.
Consistency over prolonged periods. You can't get a lot done in 90 days. Get a lot done in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
That's true. Wow. Okay. So how long were you? Well, you still own the company.
I still own half the company.
So you were doing that for how long before you joined this and joined financial services?
COVID-19. COVID-19 hit in 2020. 2019 was our best year ever. I mean, it felt like we were finally catching incredible traction. Like we made a lot of money in 2019. Like it felt like, all right, this is amazing. Like this is what we've been building. We're starting to feel, really feel the fruits. God had other plans.
No kidding.
So COVID-19.
What's that saying? We make plans and God laughs.
100%, right? So COVID-19 starts, and all of a sudden, Justin and I are having some really hard conversations, and we had to furlough and lay off about everybody. And there were dozens and dozens of people that worked with us, W-2 employees, independent contractors. One of the hardest 2 days of my life making those calls with Justin. We called everybody ourselves individually and tried to give people hope and the faith that we were doing everything in our power to keep them safe and to keep the company rolling and to get them back to work as soon as possible. But until we knew exactly what was happening with the pandemic, think about it, we're in hundreds and hundreds of homes a week across 17 states. Like we're not going to send our people into homes when there's this deadly virus going around and we don't know anything about it. So talk about it coming to a screeching halt and you don't have an end in sight. At first it's, stay home for 7 days and 14 days and we all know what happened.
Yeah.
So I get a call in the middle of March 2020, and somebody's trying to recruit me into financial services. And I say this a lot now. If I got that call in February, a month before the pandemic, I would have not a chance. I got a lot going on. We're scaling. We're busy. I got too much. If I got that call in June after we reopened the doors and everything was hustle bustle again, I would have said no. That call came at the one window when it made sense for me. That's not a coincidence.
Wow. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So, insurance, financial services fell into your lap at the perfect time. What about it made sense to jump all into that?
Dude, in the very beginning, I had zero intention of actively building the business. The only thing going through my mind was my dad, my mother-in-law, and my little sister. I knew they had a lot of talent. They had a great gift set, good sales experience for some of them. They never had the right opportunity. And so when I first heard about this industry, my initial thought was, and everything in my mind is I got to get my other company back rolling. And I'm indebted to the dozens of people that I just laid off, furloughed. So I've got to make this right. So for me, it wasn't I'm diving headfirst into financial service. It was this is pretty unique. This is way different than what I ever expected the insurance industry and the financial service industry was. I've got some people that I love and care about that would not do well in the home improvement business that I was in, but could do really well in finance. And so that was like day one thought. And then the more I learned, it made a lot of sense to spend more of my time in the financial services industry. I don't think I fully was able to wrap my mind in the first day or two of the conversations around just what you could do on the building side. And then I went to convention, went to a life insurance convention in 2021, February of 2021. And it changed my perspective and changed my viewpoint on what was possible.
Wow. Okay. And didn't you hire your first staff at convention?
Oh yeah, dude. I was sitting in Dallas in the convention center, and I put ads out on Indeed to hire staff.
And what year was that?
February 21.
Of 21. Okay. So you've been here
A little over 2.5 years.
2.5 years? Okay. How's it been so far?
It's been amazing, bro. I've seen a lot of lives change. People I love, that I care about. My life has changed. I've had to become a better entrepreneur. I've had to learn a whole different skill set. Dude, I'll say this. I've always, in the back of my mind, I think it's natural. Winners have that nagging thought, am I a one-trick pony? Was this luck, or was it more than that? So I think, for me, I really welcomed the challenge to see if I could build another business. And that was a big part of my motivation in the very beginning, too.
I feel like the challenge is something that we and just all entrepreneurs crave.
100%, dude.
Deep down.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the present moment. And, I mean, you own 7 businesses. And you've built multiple 6-figure, 8-figure businesses. And I'm not going to ask you to get into all those and what those are. But just for the young entrepreneur, because we're going to have a lot of young people watching this. What advice would you have for them just starting out, maybe in their young 20s or whatever it may be, to not make the mistakes and fall into the pitfalls that you made?
I think operating out of faith instead of operating out of fear is the basis of entrepreneurship. So you go from being a follower to being a leader pretty quickly as an entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
Leaders can't show fear. You can't. I remember back to the pandemic, I was scared as can be. And I remember talking to my employees and the contractors that worked with us and the vendors and everything else. I was not showing them the fear that I had in my own head. Does that make sense? Because they needed something more than the fear in their head. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So I think operating out of faith is critical as a leader. You've got to be the person that's strong when others are weak. You've got to be the shoulder they could lean on when they're scared out of their minds, right? I think the second thing I wish I knew sooner was, we've talked about it a bunch, but maybe from a different perspective, Rome wasn't built in a day. Like, I don't need to have all the answers today. What I need to do today is what's on my plate today. I need to do that really, really well. And I'll cross the other bridge when I get to it. If I'm constantly worried about what's tomorrow, what's next week, what's next year, what's next decade, I'm stealing away from my impact and my influence today on what I'm doing right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And one of my favorite quotes is by Alex Hormozy, where he talks about you're not going to get good at sales by watching sales trading. You're not going to get good at business by reading business books. You're going to get good by just going out there and doing it and putting in the reps, making the mistakes, tweaking, adjusting, moving
100%. 100%. It'd be like crazy for me to sit here and be like, dude, this was all part of my master plan. I knew exactly how this was all going to. I had no idea, bro. When I made the decision at 24 to start a business, dude, I was hoping at that point, genuinely, to make $250,000 a year and have less stress in my life and own a business and make my own schedule. That was my initial thought. And momentum built and my mind shifted and God gave me other visions and other dreams and other plans. And quickly it became just as much about other people than it was about me and my selfish dreams and plans to live a nice, easy, stress-less life.
One thing that's, I found interesting about you is you have partners in all of your businesses. Why do you have partners in every business?
For a lot of reasons. I think the first reason is the obvious one. When you have a business partner that has different strengths and weaknesses than you, it allows you to kind of, work together to do things that you're not good at a high level. Does that make sense? So like, for instance, my first business, why did it make sense to have a business partner? Well, Justin, he and I are similar in a lot of ways, and we couldn't be any more different in a lot of ways too. Where I can't put a nail in the wall, he's like MacGyver. Like, dude, he will figure out how to build literally anything. So I knew at that point in my life, I needed the person that had all the skills that I didn't. Now, on the flip side, I had a much different skill set than he had, right? In the way we talk to people, deal with people, train people, were very, very different. We need both, by the way. Both were necessary. And so it made so much sense in that yin and that yang, where our strengths and weaknesses would complement each other. So I think that's number one. I think, I've said this a lot. Business partnerships fail for one of two reasons, right? You either A, you don't view money the same, which is a major problem. You're not going to view your expenses. You're not going to view your investments. You're not going to view anything the same at all in business, which is critical, right? Mm-hmm. It'd be like being in a marriage, because partnership is a lot like a marriage, business partnership.
Sure.
If I'm super conservative financially and my spouse is the exact opposite, most people think infidelity is the number one reason for divorce. It's not. It's finances.
Finances.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you got to agree on how you view finance. And the second thing is in business partnership, you have to have the same work ethic. If at any point in time I'm working 20%, he's working 80%, or vice versa, we're going to have a hard time. It will not last. Does that make sense? So I think those things have to be true. I also think, this is my opinion, I think it's pretty lonely to be at the top of something.
True.
So
that's a good point.
Everyone's like, yeah, if I have a business partner, if we lose, it mitigates our losses. The flip side is, when you win, you have someone else to celebrate with.
True.
Does that make sense?
Same with building with your spouse.
100%. So for me, it's always made a lot of sense. Also, I found out in my late 20s, I'm not a singular entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I really enjoy having multiple things on my plate at once. And when you have business partners that you trust, it makes it easier to do more than one thing.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. So, having similar values, and somebody to celebrate the win and someone to celebrate the wins with, and as well as putting in the same work ethic. What else if anything, do you look for when looking to partner with someone in business?
I think you have to have a lot of the same core values. I think that's critical, right? Because your core values determine how you view other people. How you view people is eventually how you treat people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in business with someone that treats people the right way. That's, at the end of the day, if we're not treating people well, none of it matters. I don't want to step on head to get to the top. Does that make
100%.
sense? So
Absolutely.
those core values are a big deal. And you have to trust your business partners, man. You have to trust them. So you got to know these people and trust their judgment. If you are in a business partnership where you have to second guess every decision that your partner makes, you're going to be stressed to the max and miserable. It's being like with a spouse that was unfaithful.
Yeah.
Like your life would be absolutely miserable, right?
That's a good way to put it.
So you want to trust your business partner. And dude, I've always been the kind. I shouldn't say always. I learned it pretty quickly in our first business, me and Justin. When I can stay in my sandbox and he can stay in his, and we're not overlapping, that's the way it should be. Because you have this weird thing in business partnerships where if you don't set super clear boundaries, the kids come to mommy and ask the question. They don't like the answer, they go to daddy, and vice versa. So we each had our own clear, and we still have our own clear sandboxes that we operate in, and we trust each other and edify each other. And in all my partnerships, that's the only way it works.
Wow, that makes sense. I like that. Well, on the flip side, what's a red flag when looking to partner with someone?
I think it's the flip of what we just talked about. If I've got somebody that, dude, if I can't trust you, we're not going to work together. If you make poor financial decisions, we're not going to get along. If I think that you're a jerk and treat people poorly, we're not going to get along. If I think that you're just not a good human being, we're not going to get along. I think you look at. This is just off the wall, but here's just a quick thought. When you're looking for a life partner, you know what you should look at? How someone treats their own family. When I'm looking for a business partner, you know what I look at? How does someone treat their own family? The people that are closest to you, how do you treat them?
That's good.
If you don't treat those people well, the people that you supposedly love and care about, if you treat them poorly, you're going to treat me poorly too. Treat our clients poorly, our employees poorly, and everybody else. That's a massive red flag.
That's good. I never thought about it like that, but that makes so much sense. How do they treat their family? And also themselves. How do they treat themselves? What is you want to know how someone feels about themselves. Like, simply look at how clean they keep their car, clean they keep their room.
All of it.
All of it. Wow. Okay. Well, in closing, what are some goals that you have for the next year, 5, 10 years in business?
It's funny, dude. It goes along with what I was just saying. I really try not to look 10 years ahead. That's a long time from now.
It's a long time.
I know this. My goals now, the way I view my daily life, I try to bring value to every relationship that I'm in, right? So if I can bring value to the people around me all day, every day, and help the people around me win, it just seems like my wins tend to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you ask me what I want to do. I want to impact and influence a lot of people. My goals when I was young and broke, a lot of them are about money. They're not about money anymore, right? The money comes along with it. Like if you're adding value, solving problems, making people better, you're gonna have more money than you can spend.
That's just the definition of being an entrepreneur.
Does that make sense? Yes. So I don't have money goals anymore. I definitely have influence goals. So I want my coasts to be enlarged, as the Bible says. And I have a lot of goals as far as that is concerned. I want to be able to give my family whatever it is that they need. You know, I hear some people talk, I buy my kid a Lamborghini. Dude, that's insane. That's insane. No, I want, like, I'm serious, bro. Like, I've been around some really, like, truly wealthy people. Mm-hmm. Like, we're talking, like, true wealth. You know what they tell you? There's only one thing that having that kind of wealth really does for you. Because, dude, once you have a nice house, and once you drive a nice car, and what else is there to buy, bro?
Right.
But you know what having money really does for you?
What?
Healthcare. Stuff like that. Like, God forbid, someone that I care about got sick or has something, like, we're going to go to the best doctor in the world. Like things like that, you care about. Other than that, bro, I want my family to be safe and secure. I want to spend time with my family. I remember when I started off and my wife got pregnant with our son, we had some hard conversations, which were, hey, like, I'm going to keep grinding at the same level that I'm grinding right now, and probably more so. But when my kids are a certain age, I want to be able to spend a lot of time with them. So some of my goals are time related. And a lot of my goals are giving related. There's a lot of things that I want to give to. There's a lot of things that I want to do. God uses men, God uses money. He doesn't need men and money, but he uses men and money. So I want to be used by God to do some cool things. You know, I don't know if he'll ever use me in a full-time ministry capacity. I would doubt that at this stage of my life. But I think I could be used in other ways. So I want to be usable to the Lord, and I want to be found faithful. I want to make an impact. Yeah, somebody said a long time ago, and I'll never forget this. I'll close with this thought unless you have something else. Somebody said, hey, if you were to die today, what would people think about you at your funeral? And I think about that all the time. Like, what would people say about me? Would they say, dude, that dude had a ton of money, drove a nice car, had a nice house, but dude, that's all he cared about. Then I failed miserably. They say, dude, Joe, like, truly cared about me and tried to make me a better person. Then I succeeded. Does that make sense?
Wow, absolutely. Wow. Well, what a great note to end on. Joe, appreciate you coming out here. You know, I appreciate you hopping on the pod, and I'm excited, man. I think we're gonna do some big things for the next few years.
Let's go, bro. You know I love you. We're gonna be in business for a very long time, my friend, because you check all the boxes. And I love
appreciate it. Well, I'm doing my best.
Let's go.
Let's go.